And the next talk is interesting too, is drivers for adoption, innovation in exchange. So the idea is how make the exchange to adopt the technology. For that we have a Jeremy Brayton from Watchman to introduce his panel and moderating. Jeremy, are you there?
Perfecto.
Jeremy?
Vamos.
Okay, Jeremy is not on the stage. Oh, he's here. A clap for Jeremy.
Hola, hola, buenos días. Bienvenidos de nuevo a LatBitConf. Y por parte de los panelistas aquí y de mí, agradecemos tu presencia hoy. Good morning, everyone. Buenos días. Thanks for coming to what is an all-star panel here. You see the folks who we have lined up for you. My name's Jeremy Barrington. I'm the managing director of Waxman in the Americas. We are the largest communications and strategy firm focused exclusively on blockchain. So pleasure to be here with you all. And we're going to get to the panel in one moment, but just on a personal note, I wanted to say how happy I am to be back in El Salvador. It's been 10 years since the last time I was here in this country, and it's been great to spend time with old friends, and the pace of change here is really impressive, so thank you. All right, so on to the All-Stars. I'm going to have each of you just go in order, starting with Pablo. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you, Jeremy. So my name is Pablo. I'm a co-founder at Pizzo. So we're the largest exchange in Latin America. We operate in Argentina, in Mexico, and Brazil. And we're also doing some things here in El Salvador. We can talk about them, but we basically have an app, a consumer app, that allows people to access crypto in an easy way and use crypto. And we also have an exchange for traders, institutions, professionals, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Igor Talanikov. I'm co-founder and CEO of AlphaPoint. So AlphaPoint is a technology provider, a white label technology provider. We've been in the space for over 8 years. And what we do is we provide the software that our customers use to launch exchanges, brokerages, OTC desks, lending platforms all over the world. So we've powered over 150 platforms, some of the largest exchanges, and we're behind the scenes. We're doing some great things here in El Salvador. I've pretty much moved here since the law was passed. Extremely excited for what's happening here, and yeah, looking forward to the panel.
Adrián?
Yo soy Adrián Díaz, hola a todos, and we have a platform, Mexo. We launched in Mexico first on a crypto exchange platform, but we are focused in all Latin America, of course, El Salvador now. We are giving different products for the crypto ecosystem all together to have different features that already the users are having in this ecosystem, like, of course, for trading, spot and futures, grid trading, but we have to peer-to-peer fiat on-ramp and some partnerships with some others to have a fiat on-ramp in Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico, of course. And yeah, we are adding some more features now in the platforms. We are about to launch savings, but more or less is the things that we have on Mexo, and of course an academy, and pushing a lot of content in Latin America.
Wonderful, thank you all. And as you can see, the theme of the panel is exchanges and adopting innovation and driving growth. And there's, really not three more people who are more qualified to talk about this than the people on the stage. Definitely an all-star group. So we are going to get into the subject matter of growth and exchanges, but I actually wanted to start with a personal question from each of you. And Adrián, we'll just start with you and work our way back to me. But just tell us about your orange pill moment, each of you, and sort of what brought you into this world originally. And then we'll get into the hard stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, this is a great moment, no? When you start to get in the rabbit hole, you start to use some things in the crypto world. Of course, Bitcoin creates a hype on me when I am a developer, no? I am an engineer. So I start to hear about Bitcoin in some channels for developing. I start to see how it works, how it works, the decentralizing part, all the nodes, all that. And when I start to install the nodes, to use it, to see that we can have this fully decentralization content in where you want, in any moment, in any place, no frontiers, no censor. I mean, all these, I cannot get out to this, right? So I start to dig in and use it more. First, the technology, and then I start to use it to make some payments, because in the tech, you want to use gaming, you want to use, I don't know, some payments for some different offers, or work with another people around the world to have a, I don't know, like a behavior all together in the tech, so you can make payments with them, and I cannot get out, and well, right now we are here.
Yeah, as far as how I fell into the rabbit hole, it came more from the trading side of things. So I was involved with a hedge fund that started trading Bitcoin back in 2012, 2013, around that time frame. It was, I don't know, a couple $100 a coin at the time. And there were just these amazing arbitrage opportunities. I heard SBF talking about that as well. You could send money to Europe, buy a coin for $100, and ship that coin to Japan, to Mt. Gox, and sell it for $125. And there was just this 25% arbitrage opportunity, and you can just turn that all day. So that's how I originally got involved and exposed to the space, and then went to a conference. I think it was Inside Bitcoins in Las Vegas, and they had a conference in Vegas and New York, and it felt, I wasn't there for the early days of the internet, but that's what it felt like. There were hoodies, there were people talking about technology passionately, and there's this moment when you use Bitcoin for the first time and you see that you can trust this decentralized network. I think the entire space is about trust. How do we put the trust of our value and store value? And it became very apparent very early on that Bitcoin, the blockchain, was to the transfer of value what the internet was to the transfer of communication. And it was just that, there was just kind of this eureka moment. And it was really exciting. I mean, a lot of the things that are happening now in DeFi were being discussed back in 2013 at this conference. Tokenizing other assets, decentralizing everything, packaging up other parts of finance, lending, derivatives. And the technology is now catching up to the ideas, and been very excited to be part of it.
Great. So for me, it was very similar with the first time I used Bitcoin. So back when I was a kid, I had the opportunity to be one of the first people in Mexico to use the internet. Basically, my dad was a teacher at this university, and I would go with him on Saturdays. And one Saturday I went there, and I would go because the person that used to run the computer systems part of the university, would just teach me what's happening. And he was literally connecting that university to the internet. So he got it all set up and said, hey, check this out. And I remember using it, didn't really understand what was happening. You could download some essays, you could download some games, but there wasn't much to it. But I remember a very specific feeling. And some year, like almost a decade ago, I was interested in Bitcoin. Longer story how I got to Bitcoin, but I remember getting my hands on some Bitcoin and sending some of that Bitcoin, getting set up with Bitcoin. It was not a great user experience, but getting it all set up and sending Bitcoin to a friend in Montreal. And it's the only time in my life that I've felt that feeling of, there's the famous Arthur C. Clarke quote of, any sufficiently advanced technology, it's indistinguishable from magic. And for me, that moment was magic. I felt empowered. I felt that I was part of something big and I wanted to just be part of it. So from that moment on, I became obsessed, and that was it.
Well, it looks like the obsession has done pretty good things for you. So good thing you all went down the rabbit hole. All right, Pablo, I'm going to start with you, and we can work our way back out. So when it comes to growing exchanges, right, there's a couple different options. Option one is let's expand, right, from Mexico to, in your case, to other places throughout LATAM, keep expanding. Another option would be let's activate more and more people in the markets that we're in and sort of bring them into the world. Of course, you can do both, but for the purposes of this panel, we're not going to let you choose option C. So, what do you think is a stronger path to growth? More international expansion or more activation in the markets that you're in today?
So I think when we, like as we've grown Bitso, what we decide to do, let's do one country, do it well. It's not an easy business. You need to worry about custodianship, you need to worry about cybersecurity, making a fair market, about pushing technology, I mean, 1,000 things, right? I didn't used to have any gray hair before Bitso. But so we said, let's do Mexico, let's do it well. But always the idea was Latin America, right? Like going back to this moment of empowerment, we believe that the opportunity for Bitcoin was really in developing countries and places where you have not many people with financial, like with bank accounts and you know, where international payments are expensive, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the route we decided to take. And then we did Argentina, and Argentina's been going great. We recently launched Brazil almost a year ago. It's growing well. But I think right now it's changing towards more of a global model where a lot of the tools and accesses can be global. If you focus on and off ramps, you should do market by market.
So,
which is what
in
we
short, international expansion.
International expansion is what we do, which is onboarding people into crypto.
Cool. Igor, how about you?
I think our perspective is we power a lot of different types of platforms. They could be wallets, they could be a brokerage. A lot of players that call themselves exchanges in this space are brokerages. They're reselling liquidity from other partners. And there's a couple paths. The way I would answer it is you have to first understand what your product is and who you're serving. And are you going after signing up mass retail, like what's happened here, right, with the Chivo wallet, which we're involved in as well, or are you going to high net worth individuals, or and you have an OTC desk and high touch. And no matter what that is, I think that most players start with the region, a regional play, and the expansion typically comes later. And to become a liquidity wholesaler, you have to have a lot of connections. You have to have, market makers. You need to have relationships with miners. There's a lot of pieces that have to come together for you to get to that point and compete also with the global liquidity providers or the global wholesalers, like the Binance's, Bitso, I would put in that category as well, where you can charge a low fee and you have so much volume that you make up for it. But there's a lot of opportunity regionally. We power a lot of players in Canada. The Thai SEC, they have 3 different licenses. We have a customer with each of those, right? There's a security token license. There's a brokerage license. There's an exchange license. Each of those is catering to a different type of clientele, and you need to nail that first before you think about international expansion.
So in short, you're saying sort of B there in terms of activating more of the markets that you're in currently. Cool.
Definitely.
Adrian?
Yeah, I think that the nature of the ecosystem of the crypto world is to be globally, to be international. Of course, as you launch products, the ecosystem it's big now. No, there is a lot of features. There is a lot of new tokens, new products, or new things. So it's complicated, and of course, you need to look that your community is trying to find someone or something, or to have a solution for the problems that they have it. And not everyone have the same problems. Not everyone has the same solutions, and the ecosystem is too big. No, so even if the nature is to be decentralized, to now have borders and be in everywhere. I mean, if you are involved in the crypto, you can go to any place and start to use it. So in some way, you have already this now when you are in this ecosystem. But for growth as a platform, it's important to take care about the situation in where you are launching some features, to take care about the community, to take care about this area. I mean, you need to think globally because the nature of the ecosystem it is, but you need to focus on this. I mean, we are focused right now in Latin America, not as for the products is for them, but they are looking for some things. I mean, as you know, in this region, the banking system, the financial products, the financial instruments has some concerns, not some things that is some consideration that you are looking for something better. And these are some things that you need to arrange for this region. So but I think that the answer is to be global, to be international.
All right. So we got 2 A's and 1 B, I think. I think I got that right. So next question is about altcoins. And we'll forget about Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, meme coins for the purpose of this question. We'll focus more on the crop of altcoins that have had a really good year in 2021. We could just use Solana as just an example of what we're talking about. And start with you on this one, Pablo. Has the success of altcoins over the past year sort of changed the way that you think about what assets we want to bring onto the platform, or have you sort of always been, prepping for performance like what we've seen?
I think on a personal basis, yes, it's changed my my outlook on things, where I'm more open in a way to other things happening. But just in general, like our mission as Bits is to make crypto useful, and we've always we're regulated, like we're fully regulated in Europe, in Mexico, in different jurisdictions. We're regulated in 4 different jurisdictions. So we have a way for tokens to be listed that we can ensure certain principles such as consumer protection, transparency, custodianship of assets, a number of things. And so we've always leaned more towards the tokens that where we saw like a real value on a utility, or like how people in the markets where we operate, how can they actually get to use it beyond the speculative use case. So that's never been driving our listings. That being said, we've started to shift towards more of a let the market decide. So we still have a lot of principles where we want to not just list anything, but like the squid token or something like that. But we want to be a lot more open and really let the users dictate.
Well, and Igor, your business model is a little bit different in some parts, but just conceptually, what do you think about the rise of altcoins and how that would sort of impact centralized exchanges, or the thinking there about the assets that are going onto the platforms?
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's similar to the way I answered the last question. It depends on what audience you're serving, right? Like, and what's the purpose? Here with Chivo, it's serving an underbanked population. 70% of the population was unbanked, and now has an application to store value, and it makes sense to have that store value be Bitcoin and Bitcoin only, and and the dollar. And other platforms, they cater to people that are excited about blockchain, different projects. There are lots of real use cases within decentralized finance. People buy Ethereum to buy other projects, right, that they're excited about or they want to participate in. And in a lot of ways, that platform has become like a project finance platform. That's a lot of the rise was originally kind of with ICOs, and now other projects, and other platforms are now solving some of the technical challenges there, right, of the scalability challenges, Solana, and there's a lot of exciting projects out there. As far as platforms go, and our customers, they have to balance the complexity of adding tokens and everything that goes into that. You need inventory on the shelves, which means you need to have liquidity to support that, and a deep enough book for your customer base. You have to support deposit and withdrawals with all these different platforms, and that's its own technical challenge because they don't all communicate the same way. So once those pieces are in place, they decide which ones are going to cater to their customers, and being early on an exciting project is a huge deal for our customers, because if you have a partnership with a community, you're bringing that community to your platform, and those become, they transact in your ecosystem from then on. So, there's a lot of incentive to getting that right, but you also don't want to list tokens that are scams, and as Pablo was mentioning, you need to have a solid process of how to weed that out and really list at the right time.
Adrian?
Yeah, well, I think that I agree with the things that they are saying. No, at the very beginning, when we start to talk about Bitcoin, and we saw in some of these panels, these keynotes, that Bitcoin, it was inevitable, right? And I think that right now, these altcoins, these other projects are doing a really good job, and it's inevitable too. So right now, the ecosystem is evolving really fast. It's adding a lot of features, and you need to take care about to be in this project, to work together with these new features that is launching in the ecosystem of crypto. I mean, the gamify that it's doing now. You have a lot of tokens there. You want to be there. You want to have it. You want to find the liquidity to make the exchange for these tokens. The part of NFTs is doing a really great job. The DeFi thing. So when you put all these together, you need to have a really good behavior when you list. I mean, you need to have a really strict criteria. I understand. You need to take care to the users. You need to have a really good process to list it, to review, to make a due diligence of the projects, to take care that they will be sustainable in the time, not list any project, but you need to be ready for the ecosystem because it's working really hard, it's working really fast, and it's adding more and more projects, features, and products in this now. So I think that it's necessary to be ready for this.
Wonderful. And this is probably going to be our last question. If we have time left over, we could talk about politics or sports or whatever you want, food. So the CTO of Coinbase famously referred to the platform as a mullet, business in the front, party in the back. And the way that he intended that was for Coinbase, they sort of wanted it to be traditional finance in the front in terms of how it appealed and the user experience, and then crypto in the back. And I've heard the analogy of the mullet model used to describe exchanges, except it's CeFi in the front and DeFi in the back, right? And it's giving the users of exchanges the best of CeFi and DeFi. They get the DeFi yield, right, or something approximating that, and they get sort of the security, safety, usability of CeFi. With that, though, on exchanges, right, there comes a lot of risk. What happens with the DeFi platforms that we're playing with on the back end get liquidated, right? Or from a regulatory standpoint, DeFi might be a bigger target, we'll say, than CeFi from just global regulators, or in America, the SEC, et cetera. So how do you think about that with your exchanges, with that mullet model? And Pablo, we'll start with you.
Lovely, thank you, Jeremy. So, yeah, I think the mullet model, it's fairly interesting, right? Because you just cannot ignore what's happening in DeFi. And for Bitso, for example, this is a central part of our strategy. Like, how can we get users to take advantages of some of the things that are happening in DeFi? We have 3.3 million customers, and probably like over 3 million of them either don't know about this or they have panic attacks when they try to go through that user experience. So we're leveraging it now with things like we talked about listing assets. So getting liquidity from DeFi, listing new assets through some of these platforms. We're building interest-bearing products as well with DeFi. We're building lending-based products as well. leveraging this open source nature of the innovation that's happening on that space. That being said, I think it's just different risks. We're, as a regulated entity, we do talk to regulators on a constant basis, and there's a lot of risks that are happening with DeFi that are just different, and we are measuring them, we're working through them, and we're trying to offer it in a way that's not necessarily like paternalistic of these are the protocols, but we're doing it in a way where we can really open access and tell the customers the things that are happening. But more important than that, in my opinion, it's how do people take advantage of this? Like, what are the needs, right? How do you look at the needs? And when I look at El Salvador and how people are using Bitcoin, right? So I would love to learn from El Salvador and understand how people are using this new financial service and what are the needs that you can serve through things like DeFi. So building that bridge or that connection between the customer needs to the technology is extremely important. El Salvador is leading the Bitcoin revolution. We are here to learn from the awesomeness that's happening right here. And viva El Salvador.
It's smart to play to the home crowd. That's always a good idea. All right, Igor, how about you just tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the mullet as it relates to exchanges?
Yeah, ultimately, I kind of see, all players in the space kind of being, that are centralized, CeFi, as connecting people to DeFi. Bitcoin is decentralized finance. Most people think of DeFi now as like lending, lending pools and loans and that piece of it, but really any exchange or brokerage wallet is an on-ramp and off-ramp to the technology, right? It's how do I get my first Bitcoin? Unless you're mining it, you're probably buying it somewhere on a platform, and then you're starting to interact with it afterwards. So I think naturally these platforms are bridges from centralized finance to decentralized, and the platforms, as far as like the risk goes, we launched a yield product last year. We have several customers offering it. The regulatory license it's a different type of product. It usually requires a different type of license. DeFi is in some ways some of our customers see as a way to pass that decision of the risk onto the customer, right? Anybody can participate with decentralized finance. You can go on Uniswap, or you can go, with different, compounds to earn interest. And when you do that, you're making that decision. The difficulty is to do that as a regular user, especially somebody that just learned about Bitcoin. They're not going to like download MetaMask and figure out how to like take 3 hops onto like the Binance chain, and like participate in PancakeSwap. Like to get there is so like outside the realm of technical capability with people that are being introduced into the technology. I think the platforms that make the user experience very easy, it's this huge opportunity to provide people that have never had access to the types of financial products that Wall Street and large corporations always have had access to give that to the people is incredibly powerful, and to do that in a way that's simple enough from a user experience that they don't have to know what's happening on the back end. I actually think that is the purpose of these platforms, to simplify that and to build that trust of picking the best counterparties, but potentially, you always have a counterparty. If you're lending your money to somebody, it's either a central counterparty or it's a decentralized counterparty. Right now, there have been some issues with some platforms because it's new. It's as new as Bitcoin was in 2010, 2011. That's over time, the decentralized protocols will be more trustworthy than the centralized counterparties and the centralized protocols.
All right, and Adrian, we have a lightning round here. We have about a minute until we get the hook.
I will do really, really fast, promise you. But yeah, I think that, of course, the DeFi, it's in process still now. They need a lot of work yet, but it's necessary right now to find this mullet model now, because you need to allow really high fees in some of the DeFi things. The tech part, it's complicated. It's not for everyone. They need to do it a lot of research before. I mean, it's already there, but you don't have all the protocols together. Right now, there is a lot of ecosystem working together. I mean, we are a part of a group that is Galactic and Crypto that have something together with Solana to Animoca. So you can control a little bit the risk of these kind of DeFi things if you work together with them, if you find a way to reach out these goals, to have this mullet model in this process to develop a better DeFi section in this. Now, but I think that El Salvador would be a really good example because right now it's not fair the comparison between the CeFi DeFi because no one has this kind of behavior and this compliance that we have right now in El Salvador. So it will be a really great example in El Salvador to see Bitcoin doing really financial services, really financial products, right?
Super. All right. Well, folks, that's all the time we have here. If we could have a round of applause for the panelists. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. Muchas gracias y nos vemos la próxima vez.
Thank you.
Muchas
Thanks
gracias.
so much, guys.